you. I'm here with Buti Manamela, who was a rapporteur on our behalf. And no? Okay.
They are not here.
Okay. Good.
Thank you. Are we audible now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm here with Buti Manamela, whom we promoted yesterday to be the Deputy Minister for Women Affairs, because we felt that the only way we could cut across this understanding of gender issues is to make a man a Deputy Minister of Women's Issues. And he has been enlivened since then and has learned a lot about the issues we're dealing with. Ours is a social transformation issue. It is not as vibrant as most of the other commissions that you've been to, because we are all in agreement about what should be done to transform our society. What we wanted to put across very early on in the session is that when we talk about social transformation, it is almost like it is secondary to economic transformation, when in fact it is a first-generation right, social rights. It is the underbelly of our Freedom Charter, and it is also part of what we are wanting to drive to ensure that we change from what we found in this country to what the kind of country that we would like to have. So we would like at all times that our people understand that it is a radical socio-economic transformation that we agreed to at the 53rd Congress of the ANC. Beyond that, we then deal with the issues that concern us, and we put across the background of the society that we are talking about and how far we are in changing it from what we found to where we would like to be in the future. We acknowledge the fact that government has done exceedingly well on the delivery of services in this sector. However, we're very concerned about the breakdown of the social fabric of our society. This is one area which remains a stubbornly backward in the way that we define it, and we've been concerned about that. So naturally, we went to those areas that are still outstanding in the work that we should be doing as an organization in ensuring that we can completely transform our society. Those areas have to do with the creation of a national identity so that we all relate to the country, to each other as one. We deal with the issues of the breakdown of our social fabric, especially as we look at the rise in crime, especially as we look at the violation of the rights of women and children and other vulnerable people. We have looked at the issue of the vulnerable people that remain outside of our main focus, such as people living with disability. And we go on to see how we can reflect in this society what we would like to see a few years from now. And what we have here are a whole lot of recommendations that we are taking back to our communities, so that by the time we have the 54th Congress, possibly here in Nasrec, we will have refined this and we will adopt this as the basis of how we intend to transform our society. Okay. Zizi Kodwa would like me to read some of the highlights to you, because you clearly do not have the document, and I will proceed to do so. We would like all branches of the ANC to be effective agents of change as leaders in our communities. We would like to see that the ANC is at the forefront of radical social transformation and our agenda to achieve social cohesion and national building. To this end, we would like to urge all ANC members to be exemplary in their conduct and make sure that at all times they reflect what the ANC ideology is and reflect the fact that we as ANC members are leaders of society. We would like to make sure that ANC branches be clear on the difference between the ANC national anthem and the African national anthem. We feel that it is important that we stress this because it is a very important part of our social cohesion. And we started off our session yesterday with singing the national anthem in its proper format. There was also a feeling that we should increase our local content, especially as we deal with the education of our citizens, that quite a lot of the time that we are on radio and in other broadcast areas, we do not take into consideration local content. And this is also applicable to our libraries. We have recognized that we have libraries in most parts, that we would like to have libraries, but most of the books in our libraries are not reflective of the people of this country or the culture of this country. And we would like to make sure that that is corrected. We would like to strengthen our relationship at the ANC branch with faith-based organizations, sporting organizations, so as to ensure that all of these things that underpin social cohesion are within reach of our communities and our branches. We would like to ensure that we legislate against hate crime. That hate crime be legislated as a priority legislation. In this case, we would be in a difficulty because we have to first confront the fact that we have not yet got beyond dealing with the issue of racism. So we spend a lot of time dealing with the issue of racism. How do we define racism? How do we, it is one of those intangibles that we still are trying to pin down. However, we believe that by the time we've pinned it down, we've got to legislate against racism. We've got to also make sure that we understand it in all its, in all its finery and in all its newest manifestation. We're also very concerned about the possibility that as we do this, we're not paying attention to the resurgence of tribalism. We're concerned about patriarchy. We believe that if we're going to have a truly transformed society, then we've got to deal with patriarchy. We've got to make sure that our children grow up in a society where all are equal and all are respected and all have the normal respect that we should have. We believe that we would like to have this as part of our syllabus so that people understand what patriarchy is, and in the same way as we would like them to understand what racism is. Those are two evils that we would like to put behind us. As we look at the breakdown of our social fabric, we've been particularly concerned about the rising crime against women, and especially girl children. We've been analyzing this, and we view it with abhorrence, that we have this kind of society that is beginning to turn against women in their vulnerability, and especially the girl child. And we've taken this as a priority matter for ourselves to ensure that we have sufficient protection for girl children in this space that we're in. What we've done is we have resolved that as the ANC, we've got to work out village and street communities. We know where we have girl children that might be vulnerable, and we are going to launch a campaign of Know Your Neighbor so that we feel protected in our neighborhood, and when there is any vulnerable child in our neighborhood, somebody would know about it. And we would like to make sure that for every area that we have, every community that we have what is called a safe house. We would like to change the name of safe houses and call them houses for survivors. We're going to call them survival houses for survivors, and we would like to make sure that we have enough social workers there to assist people who are in distress. We analyze the phenomenon where women suffer domestic violence, And this is something that is beyond the immediate reach of our policing agencies. They report this and soon thereafter are back in the same fold, and it is a recurring crime. We would like to find that we have other ways of dealing with this particular matter of domestic violence, where women are empowered to stand up and ensure that they are able to look after their children and protect their children, which is why we're wanting to make sure that we can ensure a greater number of women in our community policing forums. We are still concerned about place names, and we would like to fast-track the renaming of offensive names in our neighborhood. We would like to bring to the attention of the ANC that when we talk about vulnerability, it is not only vulnerability of young women and young women, but it is also the vulnerability of LGBTIQ communities, and we've got to put into that albinism. It has not been in our vocabulary, but we would like to put it in our vocabulary. These are vulnerable people that need the protection of society. And we would like to make sure that any antisocial beliefs that are creeping in are dealt with as a crime. An example of this antisocial belief is that which is traditionally referred to as traditional solutions to protection against crime. It is believed, and perhaps this the President will himself confirm, that there is a rise in Eastern Pondoland of gangsterism that believes that if they have committed a crime, the only way they would be invisible to the police is by sucking out the blood of a woman. And in that way, they would be as Zizi says, rewind, erase. But I was...
I know I'm a vampire. I know those vampires.
Look, it was just one example. What we're saying is that all backward forms of traditional beliefs must be dealt with, because if they have negative consequences, then we have the rise of something like this. We have looked at the policies that we have had in the past, and they've been very good policies, and the delivery has been very good. But in those areas where we have not delivered, we find that it is because of lack of a mechanism of monitoring. Good policies do not on their own produce good results, but we must make sure that they are properly monitored and we're able to evaluate the delivery that comes out of those good policies. We are concerned about the rise in racial tensions in some areas. We are concerned about the issue of xenophobia, as you saw in the previous 2 years. We are concerned about those people that find themselves unprotected by our society, and we would like to get to the bottom of this and make sure that everybody who lives in South Africa has a better life and feels protected. We are concerned about poverty. Poverty is continuing to be a concern because we believe that most of the social ills that we're experiencing is as a result of poverty and lack of employment, especially for the youth. This is where we find the root cause of where we are right now. So we're wanting to make sure that we can deal with poverty, we can deal with employment, especially amongst the youth. However, in areas where we deal with matters that are cross-cutting with other sectors, we have referred those matters to the economic sector. But we are very concerned about the huge unemployment in youth, and we find that this is a part of the cause for why they are so antisocial sometimes and why they resort to antisocial behavior. We're also concerned about those matters that add to the antisocial behavior of our youth, like taverns near schools or taverns in locations of where our communities should be living. Members of the media, we have a very long list of recommendations. As you can expect, this is something that touches every delegate. Every delegate comes from a community, and every community has a problem. And every delegate has come here with a problem that their community is experiencing, and we have noted this, and we're attending it, and we have grouped them in relation to how we are going to ensure that they are dealt with. And we're going to ask Zizi to make the document available to you so that if there are any questions, we're ready to tackle them. But basically, this is the underbelly of what the Freedom Charter intended us to deal with. When the Freedom Charter was adopted, every household was asked, what is it that you would like to see changed in the kind of society we would like to build after this? And when they compiled this, it was what affected them most. And therefore, we've given ourselves a great deal of time. We had 2 commissions dealing with this very extensively. We had very robust discussions, robust but very focused around how do we ensure that we can truly create a better life for all our people. And we're going to ensure that this is given to you. We are also wanting children's courts as one of the matters that has arisen, specialized children's courts. And we would like to make sure that those matters that deal with children's criminality against children or violence against children to be prioritized. An example was made of how children will go to court and their cases are postponed, and 6 months later they have to relive the experience of having been violated. And we believe this is not good, and we would like to urge the justice sector to ensure that violence against children cases be prioritized. We would like to make sure that children's courts are separate from normal courts and dealt with in a particular way. There is a suggestion that we pay particular attention to child-headed household, and that in these particular cases, the child support grant should be extended from age 18 to 21, provided that the beneficiaries are still studying. I'll leave the rest then to Comrade Buti to deal with matters that I have not dealt with right now.
Thank you. I think just some brief additions. There was a strong view from the conference that we need to put in legislation, strong legislation that will deal with people who damage public property, and that we must also educate the public on the consequences of damaging public property. I think we've seen recently where communities protesting, and as part of those protests, we've seen destruction of schools and other public properties. And we really want to, call on all our communities to ensure that the least that we could do is to protect those institutions. Secondly, that we see education, sports, recreation, arts and culture, and heritage activities, clubs, and other programs as very central towards social cohesion and nation building. And that we will be ensuring that the ANC government puts in resources towards these programs as part of promoting social cohesion and nation building. And then there was a proposal that the ANC men must be visible in the 365 days campaign against, for violence against women and children, and that in August, this was a proposal that was adopted, that in August 2017, ANC branches should all hold men's marches against violence against women and children under the banner of Not in My Name count me out, and that drastic measures should be taken against perpetrators, and a message that the ANC cares for women and children should be a part of the central message. There was also strong proposals around the social challenges of racial tensions, xenophobia, violence against women, children and other vulnerable groupings. And then the effective resourcing of government structures to fulfill their functions must be focused on, and in particular the municipal infrastructure grant and the urban settlement development grant contribution to sports and recreation. And there was a proposal for this to be ring-fenced, and 15 to 20% of the budget targeted at that, especially most of the structures from the countryside or the rural areas would raise this matter quite sharply, that this would help in funding infrastructure that's relating to sports and other facilities. Then there was again the call around the need to have compulsory provision of sanitary towels to girls and women by the state, starting with the indigent girl and learners, and the zero rating for sanitary products. Then the whole question of the abuse of religion. I think we've all seen churches that spray people with doom, and people being made to eat grass and all of that, and that there must be legislation to try and regulate and curb this unethical and abusive churches, or the abusing of traditional and religious practices for the benefit of individuals. Then the NYDA must be strengthened and also be financially resourced so that it delivers effective youth programs together with or that includes the National Youth Service, the Extended Public Works Program targeting youth, and other youth employment programs as flagships of youth development in government, and that consideration should be given towards the young pioneers and also the Masupa Tsila. And I think finally around human settlement, transformatory urban planning should aim at changing the apartheid spatial residential patterns, and that we need to build integrated cities. I think we all know that the face of human settlement in our country has not significantly changed. There are still areas that are designated in terms of racial groupings, and that the human settlement spatial development plan should be focused at deracializing our communities. And I think quite a strong point raised around the fact that people spend more money going and more time going to work and other recreational facilities because of the apartheid spatial development, and that this is one of the things that that needs to be looked at. And finally, that human settlement would be looking at setting aside 30% which would benefit designated groups in terms of their housing program that includes women, youth, military veterans, and also people with disabilities. So in a nutshell, those are some of the proposals that are going to be taken back to branches for further discussions and finalization at the National Conference at the end of the year.
Yes, in addition, on the issue of human settlements, we have a resolution here, and I hope that it is adopted, that all state land and public land within the precincts of the city or within easy access of the city should first be given to human settlements before any consideration of sale of that land. Where possible, we will use the expropriation instrument to ensure that all unused building is turned in the inner city is turned into residential units, and in this way we will also be able to accommodate students that are in that particular area. Finally, when you have your document, you will find an issue which has arisen in the plenary as a contentious issue. The province of Gauteng has proposed to us that we decriminalize sex workers, and we put it across as a proposal and a recommendation until we found that the plenary is not too happy with that proposal. And in the discussions that we had actually indicated that before we have something placed before a conference, it should have gone through the necessary discussions that we have in the Social Transformation Committee. And this one was sprung on us at conference without going through the necessary process of consultation. So we did expect that we would have a fallout with plenary. So when you come across your documentation and there is this matter of sex workers being, their work being decriminalized, it is a proposition from Gauteng. It has not yet been proposed, and we will in time withdraw that. Gauteng feels that we are unduly harsh on people who are trying to make a living, and that it is the men who should be criminalized for what they do, because from Gauteng's perspective, this is an executive pleasure resort. So the proposal is to change it around so that we criminalize what the men do as opposed to what the women do. That is the proposal you will find in the documentation.
Already you've got somebody supporting it. Thank you very much.
She's from Gauteng.
I'm sure she's from Gauteng. Any questions? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 hands. Then I'll take more hands. Next question, next commission. So, Juanita.
Thank you very much, Juanita Ante from the Sunday Times. I just have 2 questions. The first one is at Minister Sisulu. We know that the controversial issue of this conference has been the fact that there were males included in the ANC Women's League delegation. And I know that they sort of contradicted the part where they said they needed them because they were women get too emotional.
Thank you.
But
Start again. I think
okay, I said my first question to Minister Sisulu is about the fact that there were men that were added to the delegation of the Women's League. And you've spoken out a bit about patriarchy and sexism that persist. What does it do, in your opinion, to the advancement of women's rights for a women's organization to reach out to the expertise of males to bolster their argument? That's number one. The second question is, has this Commission on Social Transformation considered the fiscal consequences of increasing the social grants? Because currently we have 17 million people on social grants, and can the country afford it in the wake of the recession and other economic difficulties? Thank you.
Good morning, Fariel. We haven't seen you in a long time. Thanks for coming. Your guys have been keeping us on our toes. You proceed, sir.
Tusokumalo ARD German Radio. On social cohesion, what were the specific recommendations around xenophobic violence? Seeing that since 2008, a lot of measures have been taken, but it continues to come up with a lot of complaints around the perceived government's failure to act in time before lives and properties lost, and also bring those who perpetrated to book, and others also alleging the government is failing to properly control illegal immigration. Thank you.
Okay. Pass it right in the back. There's a young chap from Maryland Guardian.
Thank you. It's Govin Whittles from the Mail and Guardian. What was the policy conference's analysis of drugs such as Nyaupe, Dirk, and Mandrex and the impact it has on family relationships? And then secondly, were there any discussions about the proliferation of homeless people in our country, particularly homeless young people? And what does the ANC think we should do about that? Thank you.
There was a hand here. Yes. Tabo?
Thabo Shwala from How TV. Over the past few months or so, and I could be generous when I'm saying that we've seen an escalating number of reports on racist attacks and racism playing itself in society on various issues. And the majority of the receiving ends are obviously blacks and Africans in particular, which the ANC says that they are protecting. And also not too long ago, the NEC conceded that the racists seem to be emboldened, these attacks and so on. So was the agency expressed in commissions in terms of time frames on dealing with the anti-racism legislature and pinning it down, specifically because it is one of the biggest threats to social cohesion? Thank you.
Is that Colin Gambi? Welcome back. I know you've been away for days. The Politburo is in session now.
Thanks, Zizi. The question from me, Minister Colin Gambi from ENCA, is that it's reported that there's been a lot of robust debate in these commissions, but it would appear that things took an ugly turn when some people were said to have used language perhaps that might not have been liked by other delegates. And so people are threatened with being taken to disciplinary hearings. What has been your sense, or in particular in commissions such as the Economic Transformation one? And also, what is the status of people who are in this conference who are said to be professionals, people like Luther Lebelo, who are said to have been very, very disruptive inside these commissions? What is their status? Because we understand they're not delegates per se. And then perhaps lastly, question has skipped my mind now. Oh, it regards the intimidation, Minister, because in the lead up to this conference, you were one of those people who were said to have been, who said to have received death threats. What would your sense be around just the safety and security aspect of this conference? Thanks.
Just to remind you, we're dealing with social transformation.
It shows he's been absent.
Yeah, just to remind, we're dealing with social transformation. You can now answer.
I'm being taught language that is savvy and sensitive on issues that could otherwise be very problematic. So I'm learning with time. May I indicate that we did not have any disruptive elements in our committees. They were actually very buoyant, vibrant committees. Therefore, I would not be able to reflect on what was happening in the Economic Committee. The reason why we had such a vibrant, peaceful engagement is because the issues that we're dealing with are issues that are very fundamental to our people. Each delegate in there had brought with them something that they felt is absolutely first-generation right for all our people. Houses, water, basic needs, and safety, and all of those things. And there was very little that we were in disagreement about. So I think I will leave the issue of the Economic Transformation Committee to themselves when they come here if they haven't been. I'll answer some of these questions and give over to the Deputy Minister of Women here. You know, we,
It's been 72 exciting hours.
it has been 72 exciting hours for you. What do we say about men in women's delegations? Can I leave that to you to respond to?
Yeah, I'll
You-
leave it to
you-
somebody else.
You leave it to somebody else. No, we were not dealing with delegations. That is a matter for accreditation. We were dealing with the Social Transformation Committee, and the men who were there were duly delegated to deal with all the issues that we were discussing. Have we discussed the fiscal consequences of the work that we do? Yes, we're not on very good terms with people who manage finances in the state, because they say every time that the Social Transformation Committee meets, then they've got to be very worried about the increasing costs of what comes out of there. Enoch Godongwane in particular thinks that there should be some kind of representativity of the finance department in all our deliberations, so they keep us on point about the consequences of increasing grants and all of those things. However, what we have here is a report of the deliberations and what our people have brought forward for us to consider. We will then sit down when we put it together to work out whether this is affordable or not. We will have the affordability measurement at the point at which we're processing it for conference. But we are aware of that, but we did allow people to express themselves, and this is what we have brought to you. These are our people's wishes, and these are the recommendations. And the Mail and Guardian, yes, we did, I think it was, I erred in not mentioning this. One of the most serious crimes that we're dealing with is the rise in drug abuse, resulting in a whole lot of misdemeanor and antisocial behavior, especially from the young. And we've looked at this, and we have recommended that our social workers pay particular attention to this. We would like to ensure that we have greater number of centers that will help, rehabilitation centers to help people out of drug addiction. It is a serious, serious problem for us in our communities, especially in communities that are high-density communities. What are we doing about it? We are wanting to ensure that we have public education about this. We want harsher sentences for people who are peddling drugs or selling drugs, and we discuss this at length. What are we doing about accelerating the issue of racism? We have, dealing with racism. We have a bill before Parliament. We call it the Hate Crimes Bill, and it is serving before Parliament, and we will monitor the progress of the bill and ensure that it is accelerated and brought out to the public domain so that all of us engage with the contents of that bill. The disruptive nature, we've dealt with that. Yeah. But there are other matters on social cohesion here which you could deal with.
Thank you. I think the important thing is that the Commission noted the fact that there is this emphasis on radical economic transformation, whereas the Mangaung Conference actually resolved on radical socio-economic transformation, because there's an interconnection between social transformation and economic transformation. And if you look at, for instance, the issue of, the whole range of issues that are being raised, they're not only about, social cohesion or the collapse of the social and moral fabric, but they also interlink to economic issues. I mean, if you speak about how long are we going to keep people in social grants, it's about how are they, integrated into the mainstream economy. Are they getting jobs? Are they becoming entrepreneurs and all of that? So that interlink was actually made by the Commission, that it's not only about social transformation, but it's about radical socio-economic transformation. If you look at issues of social cohesion and the issues around racism, for instance, and racism as a question of power and people, knowing that, being more emboldened, knowing that, you can call someone a baboon and there are no consequences. Or you can shoot someone and say you mistaken them for a pig and there are no consequences. It's a question of power. It's people who are weak, who've got no legislation that protects them, who have absolutely no trust in the fact that the justice system will protect them, who are vulnerable, and therefore, as opposed to or vis-a-vis people who have power, who are, owners of farms or owners of factories who victimize their workers and all of that. So that's why there was this emphasis around, the whole notion of a radical socio-economic transformation, and that this commission and its work is important in uplifting people, socially and all of that. Then the question of the fiscal consequences, and given the recession, obviously that's one of the things that will be looked at. But I think what came out strongly was, firstly, that extend that for people who are still studying, who are still in school, and those who are not between that age, link them to job opportunities or all the other opportunities that are available in government. It is not the desire of the ANC to keep people as long as possible within the social grant system, but it's also obviously not the desire of the ANC to see people die of hunger because they don't have means of subsistence. So obviously that balance would be made. And what else? Okay, yeah, I think our commission was not as exciting as.
No. It was very exciting.
No. I'm just saying in terms of some of the things that Oli was raising. It was not as exciting.
It was not as sexy as the economics.
Yes.
But very fundamental to us.
It wouldn't make the tabloids, but we're quite excited with how stimulating it was, intellectually, and it actually covered the business of the conference. Thank you.
May I add that the one report that all our communities will be looking forward to is this one, because it touches everybody's life. So that should put paid to exciting.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm taking my last 5 questions because the next commission is ready and they have to go.
Yes.
Kalata, Ferrier, Pete. You still have to meet with the SC, you remember? Yes. 3, 4, 5, 6. Give it.
Zizus kona nala imuva baba.
Yeah? No. Pass. Okay, you can start.
Can I go? Okay, then thank you so much. Aldrin St-Pierre from SABC TV News. Just 3 questions quickly. Is it enough for the ANC Social Transformation Committee to be merely concerned on the issue of xenophobia, considering that the fatal impact that it has and the contestation that's currently happening? Are there plans in how do us as South Africans deal with the issue of xenophobia? Minister, during your briefing last time, a note was sent to you, which was, if condoms are free, why aren't sanitary towels free? Has the Commission resolved on that? And the final question is, and I don't know whether this was part of the discussions, but if you drive around Gauteng, for instance, I don't know about the other provinces, if you drive around Gauteng and you look at our intersections, you find parents, mothers with toddlers who are 3, 2 years old and 5 years old. Why aren't we doing anything about that? Is that not a form of abuse?
Okay. Mrs. Pam, I think I need someone with works faster.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Nick Kele. I'm from Contentious News. I've got 2 easy questions. In fact, I need clarity on this. You spoke about libraries having books that don't reflect to the people of this country. What are you saying here? Can you spin more information? Are you saying you want to see 50-50 or another 90-10 in the libraries? Right, question 2. There's another hit and run point you made here. Proposal about 20% of the budget being targeted for the funding of the infrastructure. Now, the big question is, what are you going to do in those municipalities where you are in opposition? Thank you.
Please pass it to the parliamentary reporter from ANC.
Thank you, Lester ANC. Just taking my colleague's question further. Under the scope of social cohesion, non-sexist, non-racist, but if we listen to reports of racial epithets being used in commissions, particularly to senior party leaders who just happen to be non-black, African or white, is the ANC still a home for all?
No, can I just protect the leadership in front? I suggest that we won't be able to comment on things that were said in commissions which are now reporting, which all of us were not in commissions.
But may I overrule? The ANC is a home for all.
No, the question was wrong.
Whatever the question, the ANC is a home for all. Please report that.
Pass to, yes.
Hi, I'm Ayanda Mdluli from the African Times. I'd just like to touch on the health issue. We find ourselves in a situation where our hospitals in South Africa are short in supply of doctors, but then we also have a situation where doctors are unemployed in the country as well. Has the Commission looked at this issue, and if you have, what is your position on that? And then also, we're in an economy where access to affordable housing is an issue, and the National Housing Finance Corporation was established to deal with this issue. Now, just looking at the issue of affordable housing, what other institutions are going to come together to try and address the problem of affordable housing, because we have a lot of people who don't have access in the gap markets to this. Thank you very much.
Hi, Niran Tulsi from the Mail and Guardian. Just on the housing issue, ma'am. Firstly, the use of state land here in the vicinity of cities. Does that mean that government is any closer to completing its audit of public-owned land and state-owned land? And if so, do you have any timelines around that? And secondly, the Constitutional Court ruled quite recently that before a court order for eviction can be handed down, alternative accommodation has to be established already for the people who would be moved. Has the ANC discussed other mechanisms around alternative accommodation which do not include temporary relocation areas, which, as you would know in the case of Blikkiesdorp, have been around for over 15 years and are really permanent relocation areas?
Please pass it to the front. Pass it.
I'll be very quick. Masaki Gana from Eyewitness News. 2 short questions. You spoke about singing the national anthem in its proper format. Is there any talk about changing it? And you also spoke about racism and its new manifestations. If you could please just give examples of this kind of new manifested racism.
The second question, please, Masaki. Manifestation of racism.
Good day. I'm Shaba from Hillbrow Radio. Did the Commission overlook the problem that creates by public drinking to our communities, more especially playing a role on women and children abuse, whereby at the end of the day, men are also being abused by the cessation of public drinking? Thank you.
No, give it to Sipo. I don't want people to protest.
This one goes to Minister Sisulu. This is to do mostly about dress code, especially to our lovely women and daughters and whosoever. There's a social peak that has been all around in the social media of Mazota or Zot. How do you work on those kind of incident? Or?
But why don't you ask me instead?
What picture is this? picture is this.
This is mostly about the
why do you
dress
think I'm
code
not
of
qualified?
women in public places like that one, which actually have been shown all over the social media.
I'll show you.
How do you respond
Show
on
me
that
the
one?
picture.
Pass, just a reminder again, first to Pete and then Ferrer, your last my hand. We're still on social transformation. Before we talk about Pete.
Good day. Lungan Mhlongo from Kasi FM. My question, what is the view of the Commission with regards to the clarion call made by South Africans about to regulate social media? We've seen many people in Guamashu dying because of fake news that was broken in social media. So what is your view as ANC?
Fake news.
We're still in social transformation. Kalana?
Thank you very much. Lukhanyo Kalata from the SABC. My question just centers around the issue of socio-economic transformation and how much discussion went into the issue of entrepreneurship and encouraging that within the communities. We know that South Africa, the youth is unemployed, and everybody in the economy isn't growing fast enough to be able to absorb and create the jobs that are needed. So how much are our youth actually encouraged and assisted to develop their own businesses and pursue an entrepreneurial line? Thank you very much.
Ferrer?
Ferrell Afuji from the Huffington Post. Good morning. I'm just checking whether radical socio-economic transformation has replaced radical economic transformation as the key campaign of the conference, and what's the difference between the two? My colleague here asked if you have an indication of hate crimes law. What are the kinds of sentences you're looking for on them?
Yeah. Pete?
Thank you, Zizi. Peter de Tooy from Huffington Post. Minister Sisulu, you said the Commission was concerned about poverty, unemployment, and the social ills it brings. We've now seen a number of reports the last couple of weeks about state capture and corruption and the impact thereof. A report recently about an economic development project where taxpayers' money was diverted to fund the Gupta's wedding. Was this discussed, the impact of state capture and corruption on unemployment, the poor, and the indigent? Thanks.
If there's one person who has been very consistent and coherent in asking one question, it's you. Very consistent, I must say that. You can now take question. Pete.
If there's one person who's been consistent and coherent about an answer, it has been given by me. Can we stop at that, to Pete? No? Okay, all right, then we will come back to that. You don't want me leaning over? I'm this. On the issue of whether or not sanitary towels, which was an issue we made an example of when we gave a press briefing on this matter, yes, we have agreed that sanitary towels for people at school should be free. On the issue of local content in the libraries, did we put a percentage to it? No, we did not put a percentage to it. We just noted the fact that while we have made advances in establishing libraries, which was part of our resolution in the 53rd conference, we are still struggling to ensure that there is sufficient representation of African literature in, and works in our libraries, but there is no percentage yet. On the issue of the percentage of the infrastructure that should be given to municipalities to ensure that there are sufficient facilities for sports grounds and community halls, we took in a proposal that had something like 15 to 20% of the municipal infrastructure grant. However, we do not encourage our conference to determine the budgetary outcomes and allocations that government is responsible for. We have the necessary procedures for that. But we have got a percentage that we would like ring-fenced in our municipal infrastructure grant to ensure that in the rural areas particularly there is sufficient infrastructure for sport. We feel that sport will then play a very important role in social cohesion. It has in the past. We would like to encourage that it continues to do so. What we forgot to indicate is that we have now agreed that physical education will be compulsory in all our schools. Is the ANC home for all? It is home for everybody. Please underline that. That is the message from social transformation. This is how we're going to transform our society. That is the foundation of what we believe in. What are we doing about the issue of medical facilities? We discussed that matter, and especially the shortage of doctors, and we noted that because a number of our delegates complained about this matter, and we have referred it to the Education and Health Committee. What we do is take in all the recommendations that come from our delegates, and when they fall outside of our own responsibility, we delegate it to the correct commission. So that will be dealt with by the Education and Health Commission when you do find them. What are we doing about the issue of affordable housing? We have established in government a housing, a human settlements bank, which we hope will deal with the issue of the missing gap and assist people to access affordable housing. And on the issue of us proclaiming that we are going to take over all the land that belongs to the state and public land within the precincts of the city or within easy access to the city, the question was, has government completed its audit? No, even as government has not completed its audit, we are aware of land right now that belongs to the state or that is public land, and where we find that it is not in our hands, we are considering the instrument of expropriating that land. We want to make sure that cities truly represent what South Africa should be, integrated and with all the facilities and amenities open to all, and where people who are employed in the city have easy access to their workplace and have easy access to other amenities offered by the city. Temporary accommodation is a policy of government, and I think the problem that we are suffering from is monitoring some of the ways in which our policies are carried out. And Blikkiesdorp is one of them, and we're going to make sure that we can get back to that. What we're talking about here are general issues that still continue to be a problem to our society. We didn't go into particular details such as is mentioned here now. The national anthem, yes, we insisted on singing the national anthem because at the opening of our session of this conference, we had the Nkosi Sikelel Sontonga hymn sung as opposed to the national anthem. And when we got to our commissions, we felt that perhaps we needed to ensure that we insist that it is the national anthem that is sung at all times, because we hang on to some of these issues as part of that which provides a social cohesion vehicle for us. Abuse of men, shall I leave that to you? And entrepreneurship from Talata, what are we doing about that, especially for the youth? Ferial, what do we define as hate crimes? We will come back to that later on. And what sentences did we propose? We have not proposed minimum sentences for that. But what we did do is propose minimum sentences for violence against women. And we said it should be between 15 and 20 years. And I do know some women said lock them up forever, but we tried to be very rational, and 15 and 20 is what we have in our documentation. Buti?
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, on the issue of corruption, yes, we've been very strong on the issue of corruption. It is a very corrosive matter in our society, and it has actually created this trust deficit between society and government. And where we are concerned as social transformation, we would like to make sure that this is frowned upon by everybody, because it is what we think antisocial behavior at the very least. And if you will allow us to stop at that, we are an anti-corruption force in social transformation.
Yeah. Okay. I think firstly the question around sanitary towels and condoms. I think the feeling is that we should stop comparing the two. I think there's been this unfair comparison around, yes, you're providing free condoms, why are you not providing free sanitary towels? So although we've resolved that the state should provide free sanitary towels, but we think that it stereotypes the availability of free condoms wherever they are available, to mean that they are condoms for boys or for men, whereas condoms are and should be used for the protection of those who are involved in the sexual activity. So I think the comparison of, you providing condoms but you're not providing sanitary towels is not a justifiable comparison. The two should not be regarded as being equal. Okay. And then the question of the homeless centers and the increase in homelessness and all of the state does provide shelter for the homeless, and also foster care homes for the homeless also. That may not be enough, but I think the social development is doing as much as it can to ensure that there is that. And then I think linked to the question around the national anthem, was there discussion whether it will be changed? No, there was no discussion around whether we will change the national anthem. And then the public drinking and its effects on violence against women and children. Well, the question is the abuse of alcohol and other substances, whether consumed privately or publicly. And I think that's what the Commission raised as a concern, a big cause for concern. And I think there was also discussion around the policy that is in discussion in government around the use and abuse of alcohol, and that that needs to be accelerated. The entrepreneurship, yes, as part of the increase in funding for the NYDA, part of the focus of or what it should be focusing on is to promote youth entrepreneurship or interest for young people in entrepreneurship. In fact, our major concern is that the interest of young people in taking up jobs, in taking up entrepreneurial initiatives, is actually on the decline on economies of our scale, and that we really need to be encouraging more and more young people to pursue entrepreneurship. In fact, most graduates would rather join the unemployed, the queue of the unemployed, rather than use the skills and their qualifications to see themselves as creators of jobs. So we think that we really need to be changing that mentality, and there are resources, funds made available throughout government to support youth entrepreneurship, but we believe that more needs to be done in that regard. And I think finally the question of the racial epithet, I think the racial epithets which were raised in some of the commission, I think that would be regrettable, and I think as emphasized by Comrade Sisulu, that the ANC is a home for all. It would be regrettable if people were not engaged on the basis of their views, but on the basis of their age, gender, racial, or religious or whatever belief that they have, and I think it's obviously condemnable. The dress code. I mean, we yeah, she's. But I think the point is that there's been a lot of justification of violence against women on the basis of, or allegedly on the basis of what they wear. And I think it would be unfortunate if we would want to be seen to be regulating what people should wear and all of that. People are free to wear that which they believe fully expresses who they are, without any fear of being publicly shamed for what they're wearing, or without any danger of them being violently abused or in whatever form. And I think that that's important. We've had stories of women being sexually abused because they apparently asked for it based on what they were wearing. So we don't think that it's in our business to be regulating what people should be or how people should be dressed.
There was a question here about abuse of men. We've been repeatingly mentioning abuse of women, and yet men are equally abused. But I was going to say that there is discrimination even in our committee. I don't remember seeing the picture that you're talking about. You were going to show me, but it seems that it's been circulating amongst the relevant sectors of the community. I missed out completely. Abuse of men.
What was the question?
We continuously have protection against abuse, but men are abused equally.
Thank you very much to the social transformation. It is only one question before I make just one remark.
No, I did want to indicate that we deal with these matters on an equal basis. There was a question here about abuse of men that I'd like Buti to respond to.
Okay. I think the question of abuse of men, there was an acknowledgement firstly that the way in which we socialize, particularly young boys, through whatever forms, be it traditional, be educational, and all of that, the idea that young boys are should be brought up into men and what it means to be a man is actually very detrimental, and that the socialization of both boys and girls should be the same. And that's why part of the resolutions we're saying that we, instead of taking a girl child to work, for instance, it must be take a child to work. And that although girls have been victims, the isolation of boys in the process create actually long-term damage in terms of their socialization, and that we equally condemn the abuse of men, which is a rare occurrence, in as much as we condemn or it's not reported for whatever reason. People probably might be embarrassed to go and report that they are being abused at home or wherever, but that we dedicate equal condemnation to abuse of men as would that of women. But however, what has been rife and in recent times, and we know that, which is what the Commission came out quite strongly against, is the abuse of women and the killing of women and all of that.
Thanks. Finally, no, we did not discuss the issue of the Guptas and state capture in our commission. However, in closing, I'd like to indicate that we practiced the social cohesion that we preach. We had a very cohesive environment in our commission, and we are committed to ensuring that the message goes out to our people that we would like to assure them of a better life that we promised them in 1994. We work continuously to make sure that we realize this promise to them. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you very much. Don't go away because communication is here, but we can give you 5 minutes just to file and live crossings. I see Andisiwe Makena is not here. Just to apologize earlier when the president was doing a walkabout, just to express our gratitude to you guys as the ANC of taking your time to be here. There was a request from the plenary that the president must immediately come to the plenary because there was a report to be given from the steering committee, which is a committee that runs politically the conference. So we apologize, but we'll still express that gratitude to you of your work that we have been doing for the past 7 days since we're here. Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it from the Social Transformation Subcommittee Chairperson, Lindiwe Sisulu, speaking about some of the resolutions. And a bit of a light note there towards the end of that press briefing. Who would have thought that Zodwa Wabantu would one day make it into the press briefing of the ANC, and Buti Manamela saying that everyone is allowed to dress as they want to dress. Just quickly, some of the aspects that came out of that press briefing. Literally, this is something that I have to say, it's something that I personally welcome. The decision that the Social Transformation Subcommittee has taken, that sanitary towels be provided for free to schoolgirls. You'd remember that the Basic Education Department has been raising this issue that many schoolgirls stay out of school because they can't afford sanitary towels. They think about the shame that is accompanied by when they go on their periods, when it's that time of the month. They feel that they don't want to go to school and so forth. But now this is another mechanism to ensure that the girl child remains in school. We know that KwaZulu-Natal, the Education Department, in conjunction with the Health Department in KwaZulu-Natal, is already delivering these sanitary towels for free. Certainly quite remarkable resolutions coming out of that press briefing, as well as physical education. The minister there saying that physical education will be compulsory in schools, which is something good, I guess, and I guess the Minister of Sports will certainly welcome this. I know the former Minister of Sports, Fikile Mbalula, has been raising concerns around this, but now I guess what they need to do is to balance the physical education with the infrastructure that is needed in the various schools. Two questions that I think weren't answered sufficiently in this press briefing is the question around xenophobia. It certainly doesn't seem that this policy conference took a real dip into the issue around xenophobia. The Peace and Stability Subcommittee yesterday didn't even mention the issue of xenophobia, and it features in their discussion document. And here we have the Social Transformation Committee, which merely mentioned that there are concerned about xenophobia, not coming up with mechanisms of how exactly do you deal with xenophobia. But quite interestingly, though, is hearing the ANC speak of xenophobia instead of Afrophobia. One wonders whether that is a policy shift. Just a quick one as well. There was a proposal in the ANC's discussion documents on social transformation that those people who find their houses being repossessed, the ANC call them unjustifiably being repossessed, that there should be legislation be developed to protect those people. Still unclear whether how the subcommittee on social transformation has received that proposal, and whether that proposal will be going ahead to the elective conference of the ANC, where many of these issues will be ratified as well as being endorsed and become certainly policy of the ANC. Another one is the issue around racism. This is a big issue, especially for the past 2 years, where we've seen racism comments as well as racist conduct being shown on social media, as well as videos being taken and so forth. And we know that government has developed a legislation and the hate crime bill, which is currently before Parliament. It's something that the department or the Social Transformation committee seemingly welcomes, and they say that they hope that the public will be participating when the bill is sent to the public for a public comment. So literally a number of issues coming out of that press briefing, and this is one which is a bone of contention probably, and which would continue being a bone of contention considering how even Minister Lindiwe Sisulu introduced this. And this is the Gauteng ANC, the ANC in Gauteng calling on the decriminalization of sex work. You'd remember that the COSATU as well, one of the ANC's alliance partners, have been calling for this matter. It has been an ongoing debate. Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa is leading a delegation, a committee that's looking into the issues and the rights of sex workers. And during his campaign in this issue of sex workers and the concerns raised by sex workers, one of the issues that he's faced with is that the decriminalization of sex workers. But Lindiwe Sisulu saying, almost sounded as though she was saying that the Gauteng ANC ambushed the subcommittee on this issue because it didn't follow the proper procedures. Most of the proposals that are made here are proposals that first go through a procedure where they are being discussed and then make their way into the discussion documents and then finally being discussed here at the ANC's Policy Conference. Whether this matter will then continue to be discussed amongst the ANC branches just ahead of the elective conference is something that we'll have to wait and see, and actually see how the ANC's elective conference will resolve on this matter. Natasha, it's a wrap from me here at this moment, but we understand that the ANC's communications department, or rather the ANC's subcommittee on communications, is set to also give a press briefing on some of the resolutions that they have taken. Not too sure whether it will be Ayanda Dlodlo, who's the chairperson of Ayanda Dlodlo, rather, who will be, actually it is Jackson Mthembu, rather, sorry, who is the chairperson of the ANC's subcommittee on communications, whether he will be the one that will be briefing the media on some of the resolutions that have been taken. Something that we as the media will certainly be looking forward to is if there has been a final decision and another push for a setup of the Media Tribunal Council that the ANC has been trying to push for a couple of years for now.
Aldrin, thank you so much for that. And as he says, we'll probably take you back to that next briefing.